Welcome back to another episode of the podcast, From the Depths of Darkness to the Light of Success. I am your host, Chris Swick, and on the show we talk about mental health, addictions, eating disorders, anything really anyone's afraid to talk about it, we talk about on this show. Let's end the stigma around mental health and anything anyone's afraid to talk about, and make people afraid to not talk about it today. I believe everyone's story is valuable. Doesn't matter what walk of life you come from. We all have a story, and we should all be happy to share those stories that we have, our struggles. But with no further ado, I'd love to introduce you to my next guest. I got Jonathan Friedman, who also just launched this app earlier this year called The Journal Talks Back. You want to take it away and let them know a little bit about you and what you do, Jonathan?
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Chris. And hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to be on this show. As Chris said, my name is Jonathan, and I am one of the founders of The Journal That Talks Back. And we're basically an accessible coaching platform for young professionals and post-secondary students. It's unlimited coaching in your pocket. As a user, as a client, you track your mood, your sleep, your stress, and you journal, and your coach that we match you to will read and respond to each and every journal. You could journal 1,000 times a day, and your coach would respond 1,000 times. That's
amazing to have that service or app in your pocket at your fingertips at all times. With the way the world's going, with everyone being on a phone today, it seems to be the best way to go. And you have an amazing service, especially for young professionals and post-secondary students. Like what drove you to have the broaden the horizon with just the young professionals and post-secondary students especially?
Absolutely. My background is actually as a child and youth worker, and most of my experience was actually working with adults with a diagnosis of autism or young children who experience trauma. And one of the things that I used to do was I would bring technology into the home and use technology to expand communication. And one of the things I noticed when I got coached and started going through therapy myself is that we have so many, doesn't matter who you are, where you are, what's going on. We all have these sort of mental barriers and different things flying around in your brain. And using technology, using writing and journaling is really powerful to help you start breaking down what's going on, start showcasing some patterns in your thinking. And it was just a natural fit to attach that to the coaching that we do with our parent company, Frame of Mind, and have that journaling with the coach on the other end in a journaling text-based format.
And if someone else that's not a young professional or post-secondary student that wants to, join your app or, get your services, are they able to, or is it just strictly directed at those two sort of individuals?
So we're trying to be as inclusive and accessible as possible. Anyone and everyone who wants to join the app is more than welcome to book a call. We'll match you with a coach and go through that. The reason we envisioned it originally with young professionals and post-secondary students is we saw a problem of access due to cost to service. Like even in our province of Ontario, where we have, compared to a lot of other countries, incredible healthcare, therapy and mental health support is still either a very long wait list or very expensive, $150 to $200 a session. So we wanted to try and create a program that would be that cost of a session, but for the entire month of unlimited coaching. So the young professional world was what sparked this idea. And that's why as a startup, we're targeting it, but anybody and everyone is welcome to join our service if it's a good fit. We're really a tool in the toolbox, and we're the first people to say, if coaching isn't a good fit, we're the first person to refer to a therapist or to some other services, but we're definitely a piece of the puzzle.
And that's amazing. I love that you're still all inclusive and you include others and you're willing to include everyone too. It's not just directed at the young professional or post-secondary student. But you're bang on though, living in the same province as you, there is long wait lists for treatment centers, for therapists, those types of things. And it is very costly. It's not cheap. And lots of these services aren't covered if you have benefits and stuff like that. So it's all out of pocket costs. But it sounds like for the cost of one session with a therapist, you can get that for a whole month with your services. What is it, about $150, $200 a month for your membership for your service?
So it's $200 a month. And we also take $5 from every month of subscription, and we put it in a pot called the Pay It Forward Fund to help people who couldn't otherwise access our service to afford them that service. So we're taking from that as our social enterprise piece, the paid forward fund. And we're also going to other companies as well to sponsor individuals in their company through that initiative.
That's amazing. I love random acts of kindness. I hear that right there. Random acts of kindness, and then we all need to do those once in a while as well. So, how
Absolutely.
is your mental health today, Jonathan?
It's I'll be honest, it's all over the place all the time. I'm actually a client of our service as well. And one of the things that we do is you track your mood, your sleep, your stress, and your activity. And my graph is always like this. There's always so many different moods and feelings, which is not uncommon for an entrepreneur and a startup, especially. But there's so many different pieces that are always going on. Myself, I struggle with anxiety. That's always been a big roadblock, superpower piece of the puzzle for me. I spent a couple years going to therapy. I had the most amazing therapist. I've been coached. I use our service now. Always have something on the go to support and challenge, but also help me dissect what's going on with the anxiety. An anxiety to have a lizard brain where you have all of those gut instincts that are always just firing off over and over again. And when your anxiety is higher, it definitely, especially like speaking for myself, takes over my relationships, my social life, the way I perceive my situation and my finances and the business too. So there definitely, it happens that there are some really dark nights. It happens there are some days that I just wake up and I'm already sweating through shirts. And that's just the nature of the beast. So right now, like, it's been better than it has been because I'm accessing services, but historically and even now, it's definitely a way.
Ebbs and flows, as they like to say.
Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely.
So, what are what are some coping mechanisms that you find for yourself that work for you with your anxiety?
For sure. So, different strokes for different folks, different things work for everybody. But for me, as I mentioned, I love journaling, which is part of the reason why I'm doing this whole thing. I am a musician. I actually am one of those screamo guys. So I'm in a progressive metal band and I scream. And actually, that was a really helpful way for me to start working through my social anxiety because I'd go on a subway and sweat through my shirt because I was anxious about what people were thinking about me. But then at a show, if you're going to be the front guy, eventually you have to jump into the crowd, get people riled up in a safe way, of course. But you're out there screaming. So being the person who's scared of being on the subway and being the person screaming on stage, it doesn't match. So it was really helpful for me to start work through that, having that other voice that's inside of me. So that was really cool. Also, I'm a gym fiend. I always have a new fitness goal that I'm working through, and that really always has helped me with my anxiety. It's actually like a necessary component of right now. A couple years ago, one of my goals was to run a half marathon. So I did that. I have asthma as well. So it was a lot to work through to get there, but it was really cool to achieve. Now I'm trying to lift really heavy things, which I love doing a lot more. And I find after I do that, just everything feels nice. You breathe easier, your shoulders are lower. It's good.
Yeah, no, definitely. Gym's a huge component that helps with everyone's mental health. I find if I could recommend going to the gym for anyone, it truly helps you out. When I go there too, sometimes I might not feel the greatest, or it's a struggle to get there. But after I leave, it's oh, that felt so good. I'm glad I made it there. You know what I mean? And push yourself through that workout.
Yeah, for sure. It's got so many mental health benefits, physical benefits. And for me, I look at, especially for something like anxiety, there's this baseline. You wake up every morning, you might be at a 2 where you're feeling pretty good, but you might also be waking up at a 6 and your shoulders are up. And when you're in that flux, having a workout, having something physical can help equalize that ebb and flow a bit more.
100%, man. 100%. It definitely helps put you on that even keel and just gets you going for that day too. It just feels good. What problem do you want to solve in life today? We've talked about it with your app and stuff like that. Is there any other things that you're trying to solve too?
Honestly, so personally, one of the things that I've always been doing is 1,000 different jobs. I'm always the guy who's working 4 or 5 different jobs. So personally, I'm trying to just do one thing and one thing, which has been a bit tough because hard for me to always focus. I always try and add new things to the puzzle. But from a professional and a philosophical place, I've noticed that even for me, I'm a privileged guy. I have work, I have a lot of opportunity, When I was going for therapy or coaching, 10 to 15% of my salary went to go for my care and for my, therapy and my help. And really what I want to do is eventually democratize mental health a bit more. I think there are some companies that are starting to do that. I think that's a goal of ours, although we're really early and really fresh. But I really want to work together in an interdisciplinary way with so many other companies and professionals. And hopefully there are 1,000 of me out there soon putting out this kind of more affordable access. That's not just self-guided, like you're connecting with people, you're doing that work. So I think we're really early on in trying to solve this, but this is something like I wake up, I'm thinking about it. I go to sleep, I'm thinking about it. I'm in the shower, I'm thinking about it. Writing songs, I'm thinking about it. It's consuming.
No, and that's good though, like that you wanna solve these problems around mental health and stuff like that. We need more of that out there. Like you said, like the funding, like it's so underfunded in the province of Ontario, especially. I don't know everywhere else around the world, but I hear stories and stuff like that.
For sure.
Just needs to be more mainstreamed, mainlined and stuff like that. And I think some more funding could go towards those types of things going on to help the people that are struggling with these day-to-day things in their life with mental health, mental illness, and those types of things.
For sure. And even in Ontario, at the beginning of COVID, they announced that the government was funding self-guided CBT through, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, which is an excellent tool for anxiety and depression. And the provincial government was funding that through Mind Beacon, which is another fantastic service. I have a couple friends who were, but I hope that like in the next year or two, I think the pandemic was really one of the first times where everyone can relate to that feeling of isolation, that dark feeling of loneliness, like having depression or having anxiety or having a mental health concern or illness. I really hope that things start to expand like beyond just like a crisis response where it's like there's a pandemic, so let's fund a bit of mental health support to there being frequent support in partnership with, the government and other, larger corporations as well.
For sure, and I hope that it just keeps expanding and the money goes to where it needs to go to help these things that are happening, and I do agree with you there. It definitely, even though you have a household, but us as a couple felt isolated because we weren't able to see friends. And I'm a type of guy, and my partner, my fiance is the type of person too. We need to be out socializing. I like to see people face to face, not through these Zoom calls all the time or over the phone. I like that. So the social interaction, you need to have it. And especially, and I think lots of younger kids were suffering as well because they're just stuck at home in front of a computer online all day for school.
100,000,000%. We all have that. It fills up our cup to see other people and to have that contact. We're social animals, and that's really important. And yes, it was really good that we live in a time where we have Zoom and we have other tools to connect with people, but there's no comparison. And we're seeing too, there's more and more data coming out that children and young teenagers are the prevalence of depression and mental health concerns is increasing at a really rapid rate. And it's frightening, to be honest. So I know there are a lot of people starting to do a lot of research around this, and I hope more and more tools become, in a way, having had COVID and having had that big crisis experience on such a large scale for so many people beyond the actual pandemic itself. I think it's sparked a lot of really ingenious thinking about how to approach problems. So I hope that more and more things start to come out, especially around
I agree with you there wholeheartedly. What's missing from your life and the world today, Jonathan?
what's missing from my life in the world today. That's a really good question. I think the fact that it's hard for me to come up with something like it shows like I'm really grateful for the things I have, but I know there's a lot of people who are really struggling. And I just think it really always I know we've spoken about this a lot this conversation, but it goes back to just having like more and more access to supports and more systems in place to really support people. I think I have my mom, my biological mom, struggles with bipolar disorder. And every time she runs into some problems, it's me and my brothers and my whole family banding together to we're getting every single service on the phone. And we have to be like a bit cutthroat. We're like pushing and pushing and pushing. And it takes months and months to even get like a living situation going on. And I think that access and that availability even in a country like Canada, I think it's a huge problem. So for me, I always come back to that. As I said, like that whole access piece consumes me, and that's why, in one hand, starting this journal that talks back, but I think it's so minuscule compared to the real problem, the full problem. So I hope like more and
Yeah.
more people start like thinking and having conversations like this to start brainstorming. Hey, I'm really interested in this thing. How can I help this?
Yeah, and it'd be nice to see more people jumping on board, and I hope for your sake too, the coaching services that you've created starts to blow up for you because we need more services like that. I think it's because some people, it's hard for them to even get out of their house where at least they don't have to. They can hop on their phone or their computer or whatever and have this app at their hands, or they can journal what's going on right now. If there's something that pops in their head, it's a struggle of theirs or thoughts, bad thoughts, good thoughts, whatever it is, they can jot all this down in this app and boom, they have a response from their coach or therapist or whatever it is that you guys use. And it's nice to have that service, but we need more of that. And we lack those services, especially to help the people that are less fortunate and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I think there's this idea that one size does not fit all, and research is starting to show that more and more, which is fantastic because that's one treatment doesn't solve everybody's problem, obviously. And I'm really excited for a world where there's 1,000 better helps or 1,000,000 better helps and 1,000,000 journals that talks backs. That was a hard plural to say, but the journals that talk back. There we go. There's going to be one that really focuses on anxiety or trauma or PTSD or depression or dysthymia or bipolar disorder. And I think having all of those different services and programs, that's an ideal. But I think more and more people starting to think this way and see the data, I think is going to really start to push things forward in that way. And I'm excited for that future. That's cool.
I'm excited to see where everything goes and stuff like that. And just cut a little in here for people that are listening. Go, check out the journal that talks back. Go over on Instagram, check out the journal that talks back. And if you are in need of some services, check out the services. And if you can afford it and stuff, or they are paying it forward too. So I'm sure if you reach out to Jonathan or someone on the app, I'm sure they can direct you and help you out as well if you need getting the services they provide as well. I don't think they leave anyone behind, is what I'm gathering.
That's the goal.
I
Absolutely.
like that goal.
Absolutely. Thank you
So
so much, Chris.
if you were out at dinner with no cash, Jonathan, what would you do or say to get that bill paid?
Oh man. So I'd probably offer to bartend or something like that to pay off the bill. Actually, one of my first jobs was working at Starbucks. And actually, during COVID, I had a coffee venture I was working on where we were barrel aging coffee in spirit barrels. I've always wanted to bartend for the reason of you're that person that people like. Firstly, if you're giving somebody something like a drink or a coffee or something like that, you've made friends. You've made a powerful ally that day. And if you've done, like a good job making that coffee or drink, you've made like a friend for life. So being in that
And
position,
they come back and remember those things.
yeah, they come back. You become a part of the experience, and a lot of times people talk to their bartender or their barista about like things that are going on, and I think that's really awesome. So you can be the person giving them that experience, and also being a friendly person there. I think that'd be really fun. So for me, that's what I would do. I would say, you know what, I forgot my wallet at home, and I live 3 hours away. But let me do some bartending. They have a
I
guitar.
like
I'd
it.
play
You
some
can,
guitar for people. That'd be fun too.
fair enough, and give them some screamo
Yeah,
music.
let's go. 100% real entertainment
So
for
do you exactly entertaining for everybody, and you get to make some friends and get them to give your own little personal twist on the bartending experience for sure.
Heck yeah, I love it.
So do you think humans will ever colonize a planet together?
I honestly, if you would have asked me that question a couple of months ago, I would have said no. I recently, not that Netflix is everything, but it's a lot of things right now. But I watched that documentary. I forget what it's called, but it's the documentary of Elon Musk sending 4 people to space. And these aren't astronauts. They were chosen at random for a bunch of different reasons to go to space. And I'm not sure if it's going to happen soon, but I think it'll happen. And I think that's really cool. So I'm not sure if it'll happen in our lifetime, but I think the seeds are being planted, and I think that's
He's
awesome.
doing some crazy things, that's for sure. Like he's a genius, and believe it or not, he actually went to Queen's University for his sophomore year.
Oh, really? That there you go.
Yeah, I dug down a
Kingston.
rabbit hole.
Way to go, Kingston.
Nice. Yeah, I didn't know that, but I just came across this list of like famous celebrities that you didn't know that went to university or post-secondary school in Canada, and
That
he was on it.
that's awesome. I would have never known that.
Yeah.
Now I know. Way to go,
Oh, I
Canada.
wouldn't have known it either unless I just was scrolling randomly one day down one of those rabbit holes.
Yeah, I think that'll be cool.
So before we go here and everything, Jonathan, where can everyone find your app?
Yeah,
Find you on social media, give you a follow. You got some great content that you post on a daily, sometimes a couple times a day, a little journal prompts and stuff like that for people to try out on Instagram, I find, and I really enjoy that. And I want to thank Brad Walsh for introducing me to you as well.
yeah, thanks so much, Brad. I really appreciate that. You can find us at thejournalthattalksback.com. We're on Instagram at Journal That Talks Back. We're on also Twitter and TikTok with my name, Jonathan Friedman. You can find me. We're sharing advice, some thoughts. Sometimes I play guitar too. So that's a lot of one time I did a dance. It'll probably be a while before I do another dance, but we'll see how it goes.
Just get that movement in.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah,
Get that movement however you can.
exactly. So if you go to thejournalthattalksback.com, at the bottom, there's a booking calendar. That'll just be a call with me. And if coaching is a good fit or the paid forward fund is a good fit, then fantastic. We'll make that. If not, then we're the first people to refer and send to other resources that might be a better fit. And so go to journalthattalksback.com, book a call, and I'm here waiting to.
I appreciate it, and I like that with the pay it forward thing again, man. That's amazing. And if the right fit isn't with your coaching services and the journal that talks back, I like how you refer people. You don't just send them away with nothing. At least you can give them a referral to some other resources that may be more beneficial to them as well. I love that, man. I really do.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate having the space with you today to talk about it and to talk about space colonization.
Nice, man. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come on the show as well, man. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, Jonathan.
Thanks so much, Chris. We'll talk soon.